Ladies and gentlemen, McLaren is completely finished. McLaren is a done team. The game is gone for McLaren. So, as you guys might have heard, that McLaren has changed up its rules with the repercussions, all that nonsense. They've changed up the rules, and also we're gonna be talking about Max Verstappen and what that means for him, and even more importantly, from the FIA, we know that two teams have breached the cost cap regulations. Aston Martin haven't passed the cost cap, but they have some, paperwork issues, and another team has actually breached the cost cap. It's like 145 million, and they probably spent like 10-20 million more, but we'll get more into that. So first things first, McLaren. So as we know, McLaren is the beta championship team right now. Like, they might have won the championship, but they are still acting like a little they are so disappointing. So obviously we know that there was a crash last weekend between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, and obviously Hülkenberg was involved, Fernando Alonso was involved. It was a whole mess. You guys have seen the crash, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know which side of the coin you want to look at, but they've removed the repercussions that Lando Norris had from his crash at the Singapore Grand Prix. So basically what happened in the Singapore Grand Prix, they were like, oh, Lando Norris was at fault for the the collision they had with Oscar Piastri on that first lap. And unfortunately, they were like, yo, Lando Norris, this is not how we go racing, so here's the repercussion. So basically what we know so far, based on what Oscar Piastri said at the interviews this weekend, is that the repercussions were that Oscar is the one who gets to choose how they go qualifying. Like, he chooses who goes out first, because some teams usually rotate between one driver going first this weekend and then another driver going first the other weekend. But because of the repercussions, Lando Norris didn't have a choice anymore. He would always go whenever Oscar chose. But now with the crash, that's gone. So basically everything is back to, McLaren is just creating up some new rules, some new ridiculous things just for the sake of fairness. But it isn't really fair at the end of the day, because it's just them making up things on their own. So it's like, and when they asked Max Verstappen what he thinks about it, what he thinks about the team orders, what he thinks about all this, guess what he said? Guess what Max Verstappen said? He doesn't care. Of course he doesn't care. Max Verstappen really doesn't care about this kind of stuff. Even when they asked him about papaya rules, if they were in his team, he said that wouldn't matter because he would be like so many points ahead. That's like, damn. He literally just said whoever he's next to, he's just gonna whoop them and he's just gonna like slap them up. If I was an F1 driver, I wouldn't take that. I would put my money on the line and get into Red Bull, especially next season, the new car, get into Red Bull and slap Max Verstappen up, and become the champion at the team, But yeah, anyway, so that's basically the current situation with McLaren. Unfortunately, this beta of a team, this team lacks testosterone. This team lacks the strength, this team just disappoints me, man. Like, of course I get what they want to do. They don't want to do what Mercedes did and kind of make the team implode because of two number one drivers. But at the same time, sometimes you just have to let the course run its way. Sometimes if the team is going in a certain direction, just let it go that way. As long as nothing toxic is obviously instilled in the team, sure. Make sure the drivers have fair chances, sure. But don't manipulate the rules just because of a certain incident. Like, if the FIA deemed it a racing incident in Singapore and didn't penalize them, leave it at that. It's a racing incident for the team as well. If the FIA deemed it a racing incident at the sprint in Austin, do the same. Just leave it at that. Then you wouldn't have to have this kerfuffle. Unless the drivers are actually attacking each other in a way that is, breaking down the team, which hasn't happened the whole season, then sure, you can intervene like Mercedes did when the drivers started, dive bombing each other and attacking each other. That's a different case. Then sure, you can introduce other measures. But otherwise, it's not necessary for them to be putting repercussions on both sides. And then now it's like, even it's like, oh, what? That doesn't make any sense. McLaren is just so disappointing. McLaren has turned a lot of Max Verstappen haters into fans. Like, now people would rather have a Max Verstappen win for this title rather than any of the McLaren drivers. It's so unfortunate because both of them do deserve to be champions. Both of them have been really good drivers, but unfortunately McLaren is just, they're not doing what they need to do. But anyway, now let's get into the F1, or into the FIA rather, the FIA news. So obviously, as we all know, in 2021, the FIA introduced the cost cap. Obviously, the first team to break the cost cap was, you can guess it, drum roll please, Red Bull. Yay! Everybody's favorite cheetah. Yay! Jokes, just jokes. But yeah, so Red Bull was the first team to break the cost cap. Aston Martin did as well, but they didn't break the cost cap. They had a procedural, paperwork stuff that was incorrect, and then they got fined for that. But they didn't break the actual, cost cap. But Red Bull did break the cost cap. It was 4 million? I'm not sure exactly. Was it 4 million rand? $4 million dollars. So yeah, that was the unfortunate circumstance for them. And what did they get fined? I think they got, I forgot what happened, some points penalization, but they still won the championships anyway, so it didn't matter for them. But yeah, that was Red Bull's fine. That was it. That was going into 2022, because obviously you get the financial report for last year is the one that affects you this year. That's how it works. So it works into the other year, just to clarify for anyone who didn't understand. But yeah, so now it's the 2024 year, and it's 2025, and obviously the FIA has come out with the financial reports. They've obviously deemed 8 of the other teams have been perfect, no issues, nothing. Aston Martin again is involved with some procedural issues again. I don't know if the procedural issues are now procedural issues, or maybe this looking for a loophole somewhere. You never know with these teams, but I think Aston Martin has been pretty okay. I mean, it would be embarrassing for them to break the cost cap with a huge amount and then be 7th in the championship. Unless this is for next year, then we'll never know. Next year they come out with the rocket ship because of all the procedures they've been breaking. Hey man, might be some big Lawrence Stroll, Adrian Newey, But anyway, that's not the point. So the point is, now there's a team that broke the cost cap by a huge amount, and unfortunately we don't know which team it is yet. So Aston Martin is probably going to get its own penalty, which is a small light penalty, relatively speaking, and the other team is probably going to get a more substantial penalty with maybe points deductions or maybe whatever it is. And obviously when things are like this and there hasn't been a team that has been spotted out, people are going to speculate. We've got some fans saying, it would be so funny if it was Alpine, because they literally have the slowest car and they're last, and they would have a breach. That would be so funny. But I don't think it's Alpine. I think it's probably one of the top 4 teams. If it's not the top 4 teams, then it might be a team that's transitioning. So maybe Audi / Sauber, or who else? Who else is likely to break the cost cap by a big amount? I think maybe that, or another team that's making a lot of investments, Red Bull. And we can't put it past Red Bull because we know they've done it before. So they can do it again, And the thing is, obviously the first time they broke the cost cap, it was okay, if it's your first time, it's okay. We will give you a penalty just to make sure you understand the severity of it. But if you break it again, then it's that's not good. So if they were to break it again, that would be bad. That would be really bad, because it might cost Max Verstappen a shot at the title. But then again, we never know, because no one has said. It hasn't been announced yet by the time I'm making this video. Maybe when this video drops, we would know which team it is, but I doubt, because I'm recording this literally on the day we just got the news. So what I think is, it could be literally any team. I'm not putting my money on Red Bull, because I've been saying a lot of things about Red Bull lately. So I'm trying to tone it down a little bit, and I think it might be any top team, but not necessarily Red Bull. Maybe it might be Ferrari, Ferrari. Yeah, Ferrari. I don't know why it would be Ferrari, but possibly Ferrari. Maybe who's to say it's not Racing Bulls? Huh? Maybe Red Bull is using Racing Bulls to, who's to say that? We don't know. But anyway, that's basically it. It's just speculation at this point. So obviously we can't really say much because we're just speculating. But when it does get revealed and we find out that it is Red Bull who broke the regulations, then we're gonna have a field day with that. But anyway, that's it for today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Obviously there's gonna be another video up here for you guys to watch, and click there and I'll see you guys there. Peace.